Welcome to the Soccer Coaching Podcast, where we will discuss all things that impact soccer coaching across all levels and ages. Please listen, enjoy, and share your thoughts on the discussions at the Soccer Coaching Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Soccer Coaching Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott.
And I'm your other host, Mark.
In our last episode, we spoke about the key ingredients that make for a fun and effective coaching session. We came up with 10 elements that we felt should be considered and tried to explain why we believe they were important. If you haven't already done so, please do listen to the episode and let us know what you think. As equally important as what goes into the training is what goes into the match days. So for this episode, Mark and I are delighted to have the super talented and experienced Mr Chris Fraser joining us to share his thoughts on this key topic. Chris has been preparing players and teams for match days for over 10 years, and we know he feels passionate about the rights and wrong ways of doing this. I've had the privilege of seeing Chris coach and manage teams on numerous occasions, and I'm always blown away by not just his technical understanding, but also the manner and style in which he communicates this to his players, parents, coaches, and all those that he's impacting. I also know that Chris is in his element on the training pitch or in a muddy field surrounded by players. So sat here with a mic in his face and questions from Mark and I is very much out of his comfort zone. So we're extremely grateful he's willing to do this for us, and we know it's because of how passionate he is about football, coaching and this topic especially. So welcome, Chris.
Thank you. I don't think my mum could have wrote a better introduction. So,
She wrote it.
I appreciate it.
Not at all. So, in true podcast interview style, if you don't mind, Chris, can you give us a bit of background to your playing and coaching career to this point?
Playing. Well, unfortunately, I didn't have that trial at Crystal Palace that everyone always tells you about. Brought up in Scotland. Had my first game of football when I was 9, playing 11-a-side. I don't know whether you guys had the same experience, but I remember playing 11-a-side at 9 years old. On a freezing cold day up in Scotland, touched the ball about 3 times.
Middle of summer, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely up in Scotland. So, that was it. Didn't love it. I've got to say, I wasn't a massive, as much as I am now, I wasn't a massive football fan, but it really was it was more of a social thing for me. My mates played. And then we moved down to England a year later through my dad's work, and that was when I really fell in love with football. Went to play for Chalfont St Peter. Played there, centre midfield, midfield dynamo, as my dad called me. I was a lazy player. I thought I was good, but I used to do the great bit on the ball, but I never used to track back. I never used to work hard. I never used to run beyond my strikers. All the stuff that we talk about on the sides, and I say hardest. My tag word with whether it was at Wickham or whether or my coach and I always used to say hardest working player wins, and I was the opposite of hardest working player. So that's certainly one that I've learned through the hard way. In terms of my life, took a little bit of a change from 16 to 26, which I won't go into. 26 years old, passed my level 2. Approached Wickham about a part-time role. Did some part-time work with Wickham for about 4 weeks. Tried really hard to impress, really keen to impress, to the point where they offered me a full-time job after the 4 weeks. Was doing birthday parties for them, coaching in the schools, after-school club programme, that type of thing. And then I went on to sell tickets for Wycombe Wanderers, which was a real, for someone who was just so driven on coaching. I then went to the sales side of it, which for about a year, sleeping in the office just to get my work done, which was not a good decision. I thought I'd get a pat on the back from my bosses for that one, but I got reprimanded for that one. But, that was another experience that I won't go into. So I made the decision to go back to coaching. Wickham came to me the idea they wanted to development. Obviously they lost their academy for financial reasons. Unfortunately, came to me and said, right, we want to have something in place just in case that academy comes back. Came to me and said, right, what do you want to do? And within 6 weeks, we went from 26 kids in a leisure centre in Beaconsfield to having over 400, close to 500 kids operating out of Aylesbury, Burnham, Slough, Uxbridge and High Wycombe. And I ran that for 5 years, very successfully, I like to think. Absolutely loved it. Still feel very passionate about it, still follow them. Love to be more involved, but I've obviously made that decision to move on. that's pretty much it. And I'm now at this stage where I'm working for iPro, so an independent coaching company, where we've got under 7s through to under 12/13s operating out of Slough. And instead of having 550, we've got about 70. So I feel I can give a little bit more to the individual, operate to the point where I can help my coaches. You know, I often felt at Wickham that I couldn't help coach the coach, if that makes sense. And
it got so big.
Yeah, pass it. It got so big we were just managing numbers in a sense. Yep. They'll kill me for saying that. But with iPro, I feel I can coach the coach and manage the person as well as managing the football. And here we are to this day, still loving football, still trying to make a difference, and hopefully today we can pass on some knowledge that will maybe turn a few football loving dads into top coaches.
And you're still playing.
Brilliant.
I still play, yeah.
Still a midfield dynamo.
Yeah,
do you track back these days?
I work far harder than I did when I was 16 and able to run than I do now. Absolutely.
Practicing what you preach.
Yeah, 100%.
Just a quick question about Wickham. So when you first set up, the whole philosophy that was, and I've seen it and it's great, and the work you put in obviously comes shining through, but were you responsible for that philosophy that's in place then? Was that you, or was it a club thing? Or
that philosophy, I probably developed that philosophy over my time coaching, if that makes sense. I think football changes. I reckon football philosophy changes by the week, by the month. You see it with England. You know, England are now producing young players like Sancho now, who are dynamic, powerful, athletic. Instead of probably 5 years ago, we were looking to try and develop creative players, and I think that's kind of been put to one side. We're now, like I said, looking to develop different type of players. So I think football changes, and I've kind of gone with kind of what the FA have gone with, if that makes sense. I'm a big fan of what they do over in Belgium. You know, Belgium, they play 2v2s, 3v3s up to about the age of under 10, under 11s, and I think they do matches. I mean, I've not totally looked into it to the point where I've not researched the living daylights out of it, but I firmly believe that's it. And look at what Belgium have produced over the last, you know, if there's 10, 15 Eden Hazards out there at the age of 7 or 8, then they're doing a pretty good job. So I've definitely followed the Dutch. You know, obviously we're all brought up on Ajax, weren't we? The Edgar Davids, Seedorf, Kluivert. We could go on and on and on. So I've kind of brought up on that. So I kind of like my football to be technical at the same time. So the philosophy with Wickham was kind of developed as a group of coaches. But in terms of my own philosophy and what I've kind of passed on to my coaches, I just, it's kind of come from the Dutch way of small-sided games, 1v1s, 2v2s, decision making, that type of thing.
I think Belgium went from 66th in the world to first, didn't they? So they're doing something right. Right? So,
But if you said to someone, don't do 5v5s, and I sometimes think our hardest bit as coaches is to convince the dad who's doing a brilliant job running the under 8s over in Uxbridge or whatever, to go, you know what, instead of doing a 5v5 at training, do a 2v2. Or do 2v2s on the same pitch where you've got loads of traffic. I've had the amount of times where I've had parents come to me and say, Chris, that was a mess. That was chaos.
That's what
you want. I said, why? I said, listen, I've always been taught if it looks messy, then you've achieved it as a coach. But unfortunately, the parents on the side go, well, my boy didn't understand that. I've had kids leave my sessions halfway through because it's been chaotic. And it's hard. But like I said, could we educate the parent in 30 seconds? No. But it's... is it what the kid wants? Has he loved it? Has he enjoyed it? Has he made 15 decisions in 15 seconds? You bet he has. But unfortunately, I don't think sometimes as coaches we get the time to implement that week in, week out. We have to go back to 5v5 just to keep Bobby's parents
maybe it
happy.
Looks right.
Absolutely. It has to sometimes look aesthetically great to the parents. Certainly in the Wickham role that I had, when they were, it was funded by the parents. We had to tick the box of what the footballers wanted, but you're an audience. Your audience is the parent who is paying the £10 to...
You're trading off for your principles and some of the stuff you know is going to work to make sure it looks right.
I think there's so much in that 3v3 game. There's so much in it, right? I know, Scott, you're a massive advocate of it, and you've kind of been selling it to me many times over the last few seasons. But it's something that I think I've used in my coaching probably more in the last 12 or 18 months than I ever have. And I think there's so much in it. It may not, to the parents, as you say, look like a 5v5, or I'm now kind of coaching 7-a-side, so it looks different to 7-a-side, but there's just so much in it. The ball's in play so much. There's so many touches and so many opportunities for them to make decisions. I think it's just a wonderful game. I
think that's what it is, the touches. I always say to my kids that I coach, I probably coach under 6, under 7, under 8, and I do under 9s as well. 400 touches a day is your practice But when you come to training, if I'm with you for an hour and a half, you need to touch the ball. In my opinion, 600 times plus a session. And if you're playing 5v5 for 15 minutes, I think he's touched the ball 5 times. If you're lucky. But with the 2v2s, the 3v3s, constant, and you're teaching them to be intense. I think that's what football is at the top. For boys to improve, and the difference, in my opinion, between a lad who's got some great skills and a lad who's got some great skills with intensity is massive. Because he's just so full on, and the other lad who's got some beautiful flicks and tricks, he hasn't got that intensity because he hasn't trained with intensity. So I think the 2v2s, the decisions, the 2v1s, the overloads, the stuff that you guys mentioned in the first podcast, which I think should be based, the whole of coaching at junior club level should be based on overloads and that type of thing, just because the amount of stuff that comes out of it is fantastic.
I know we're going to talk about match day, but I must ask you this question, Chris, if you don't mind. So Scott and I, one of the big, we agree on many things. One of the things that we probably don't fully agree on is a little bit around the importance of ball mastery and I guess ball mastery and ball skills. Maybe not in a situation where it's you're under pressure, so you're doing ball skills on your own. You're learning.
Are we talking opposed, unopposed?
Opposed, unopposed. Exactly. Yes. So
do you not like it because you can't do it?
So or
is that it? Is that really hard for me to say?
I can do more kick-ups than my under-10 group, so I'm happy at the moment. It's going to be problematic in a year or two.
Yeah. Just to be fair, he does like it.
I do like
unopposed ball work, his marks thing.
You're not a fan.
I get it.
Yeah.
My challenge is, does it transfer if it's unopposed? And also, is it fun? So, because my first, when I'm doing my session designs, it's like, okay, will it transfer into a game? Is it fun for the players to do? Is my first things. I'm not devaluing the importance of being good on the ball, but trying to find ways to do it. Or I'm not always convinced that some of the ball skill stuff I see at some of the best academies in the country that I've seen, I'm not sure how much that transfers into games. So that I think that's
it's a tricky one, because I think without the ball mastery, they don't develop the confidence to do it when they've got a player in front of them. And one thing that I've really, really tried to work on, certainly with the kids I've coached this year, is to drive the tricks in 1v1 and 2v1 situations and 2v2 situations in games, because it's really difficult. Unopposed, kids look like $1 million, but the second you put 2 kids in front of them, they kick it past them, they run around the other side, they score, and they think that's what football is. But without that constant drive and I know they don't like it. You know, I always call it, they are the fundamentals. They're not fun and they drive the kids mental. That's the way it always, it's almost like an oxymoron, isn't it? But it's a difficult, I think it's absolutely huge, but I can see your point, because I don't think they enjoy it. And we don't get along with them. You know,
that's the other challenge.
If we're all training 3 times a week and we've got 6 hours with the boys, then I put an hour of ball mastery and I'd spread it over a couple of nights. And it has to be good. You know, if you're doing ball mastery and you're not feeling it and it's a token gesture, then it's going to be a token gesture. They're not going to feel it. And then you've wasted, especially at this time of year as well, where it's freezing cold. But it is vital. You know, I do skill combinations. I mean, I haven't, you know, I think with the toe taps, the side to sides, I work more with the 6s. So I think the toe taps and the side to sides initially for the first 30 seconds is there. But I'm at the stage now where I'm doing an L-shape, V-shape Maradona spin, because I think they enjoy that. And also putting gates out. So then they've got direction in their tricks. Because I sometimes think kids do skills for the wrong reasons at the wrong times. But if you can put gates out on your ball mastery pitch, if that makes sense. So little Jimmy's got to do an L-shape, V-shape Maradona spin, and his Maradona spin must be through that gate. So he is now trying to what's the word I'm looking for?
It'll be replicating that kind of move in the game potentially, because he knows he's going in a direction with it. And of course he's
now starting to do it with his head up.
He's got to look now.
So it's little things like that. It's super important, but you have to be good at it. And it sounds, as I think the coach, I think the demonstrations have to be good. I think the demonstrations have to be with enthusiasm. You have to love it. And listen, if you can't do an L-shape, V-shape Maradona spin and show your 6 and 7 year olds, I don't think they're going to engage in the product. But if you can do it to the point where they go,
wow, I want to do that.
Have you seen Coach Chris do his Maradona spin? It's fantastic. I'm going to try and see if I can emulate him. It's crazy. I think earning the trust of your players is the biggest thing in coaching, and you sometimes have to do that with a little bit of magic from yourself, using your feet or using your technique.
You have to practice my old terms.
And Vito.
So is that 2-1 to ball mastery?
I think so. Yeah,
Game over.
But in terms of, just to add on from that, in terms of when I've done the ball mastery, I will then do 1v1 15-second football with the ball mastery. So the gates are still out from what we've already operated on. Yeah. So for instance, you got a ball, you two play 1v1 for 15 seconds, and every time you go through a gate, you must do a trick through a gate to score a point. And then at the end of the 15 seconds, the person with the ball gets a bonus point. So there's your ball mastery, and then you've already made it. So you've done unopposed ball mastery followed in by opposed ball
right
mastery.
Away leads up with some
with a little bit of spirit, scrap, determination. So look, I always say to kids, football's played in three places. It's played in your head, it's played in your heart, and it's played with your feet. And that little 1v1 ball mastery stuff. So you've worked on the technique. Now you've got to play with your heart, because when you get knocked over, what you got to do, little Jim, you've got to get back up again. And then obviously the intelligence of being able to use your tricks at the right times through the right gates and stuff like that. So ball mastery, I would say, is vital.
It's just how you do it, I guess.
And
you have to love it.
Are you going to get that question every time we do a podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Until I give in. Yeah. Right, brilliant. Well, thank you for that, Chris. Well, it is about match day, so I just thought maybe the first question before we got into that, it's probably a bit of a loaded question, but how important do you see matches, and how should they kind of fit into like a training plan? Before we look at the match day itself, just, how do you see them? And
more important as I've gone on.
Okay,
if that makes sense. I think we should play instead of train. In my opinion, I sometimes think if you're train, so let's take a month for example. You train every Wednesday night. I think 2 of those Wednesday nights you should play a match instead.
Okay. And is this focused on at the foundation stage, or kind of under 7s to under 11s, or is that as you get kind of older?
It's difficult with facilities. Let's get it right. We're kind of sometimes banging our heads against a wall in terms of if there was another 750 3G Astros in this country, I think we'd all be happier people. Well, certainly the football fraternity would be happy. That's for sure. But I just think we don't spend enough time on the match pitch, if that makes sense. And because we only get 48 minutes to put everything that we've worked on a training pitch onto a match pitch, we get desperate and we try and force and we push and we become different coaches, to the point where if we had 2 games a week, we could work something on a Wednesday and then something on a Saturday. I just think we force so much in. I think we force loads into training because we want the end product yesterday, if that makes sense. But it's I would certainly lean more towards, if I ran another team tomorrow, I would certainly be looking at training Wednesday, game Saturday, game Wednesday, game. So in a sense, we're doing 1 training session to 3. In a sense, with that, does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
So that.
But then would you be using games then as training essentially?
So I'd have a game topic.
Yeah.
So if we were playing a game on Wednesday, we'd be. Can we play through the thirds?
Yeah.
Maybe not for the under 7s. So the under 7s might be. I mean, one thing I always love to do with the 7s is you got to go back to your goalkeeper before you score. They absolutely hate it.
Yep.
But again, I don't need a 7-year-old to send me another Christmas card. As long as he becomes a great footballer and fancies me on Match of the Day when he's 18, that'll be great. But so in terms of your philosophy and your syllabus, it happens on the match pitch.
Yeah.
Because that sometimes training can be a little bit false and a little bit fake, and there's nothing better. And I was a brilliant trainer and a terrible match player because of nerves.
Yep.
But you've got to play under that match environment. A lot of I'll give them a name check. My beloved Cookham Dean under 10s, who they're just the 10 of the nicest lads you'll ever meet, but some of them really struggle with nerves.
Yep.
I see they all play with Wickham. They're all in the elite centre. They're all fabulous players. They go and play Chelsea, and all of a sudden I can see the rabbit in headlights, and purely because they haven't spent enough time in that. It's not a results at all costs, but unfortunately it is to a 9, 10, 11-year-old boy when they turn up on that Saturday. And that's something as coaches that we need to sometimes think about. How can I get little Jimmy to show me what he shows me on a Saturday morning, on a Sunday morning when the ref's got the whistle. He's got 5 teammates, but he's also got 5 people that want to beat him.
Yeah,
it's difficult, and they revert to default and go back to something that is completely unnatural to them and something that we don't want from them.
And the social
stuff is vital, I think.
It's that social, psychological side to coaching, isn't it? That we're not always the best at as coaches. That we might be good with doing the technical and physical stuff, but understanding the other sides of the game, especially for the younger players, and giving the opportunity to experience more of that must help, I'm sure.
I've always struggled with that, the social, physical, psychological. It's finding the time.
Yeah.
You put one of your points you sent over to me to think about was, and we'll probably go into it later. What do you do after a match?
Yeah.
I'd love to have 10 lads to sit down. I'd love to spend 20 minutes with the tactics board after a match. But Jimmy's got a drum lesson.
Yeah.
Bobby's got to go to a garden centre. Someone's got a trampoline party.
Yeah.
And without the full access to the squad, it doesn't have the same impact. I don't feel, sometimes I wish football was right. It's 9 to drop him off at 9 and come back and get him at 11, because I need a longer warm up. Sometimes we get 10 minutes a while. Sometimes warm ups are dependent on 3 or 4 of them turn up late.
Yeah.
Drives you potty, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then as soon as the game finishes, it's right, tracksuit on, and we're off. And that's for me, that's your impact moment, right?
Yeah.
What did we do well? What did we learn? And there, like I said, the social, psychological corner that we don't get to tick. We've ticked the technical one because they played for 48 minutes, but the most important one, where we rubber stamp our learning, happens after the game. But we get 30 seconds, and that's after we've high-fived all the kids. They've high-fived their mates. We've given man of the match to someone who ran more than the other kids, and then we go home. It's tough. It's really tough.
And it's hard, like even the parents are coming over, especially this time of year. They're freezing cold. It's raining. They've got to take the goals down.
The car's started already.
Exactly. Yeah. They got the keys in their hand. Yeah. They're going to just they're looking at you like thinking, "Come on, make it quick, make it quick. We need to get going." But it is interesting actually, because my team, we had a game a couple of weeks ago, and we conceded 2 goals in the last kind of 3 or 4 minutes. One of them, and they were both kind of, I think, individual errors, and that's fine. These things happen, mistakes happen, and that's it, right? We just learn from mistakes and we move on. No one should be frightened of making mistakes. But it was the time after the game that I wanted to prepare myself to talk to the players. I needed a couple of minutes to think it through what I wanted to say, because there was a lot of learnings in what happened. And probably I didn't get myself structured right, or didn't get my thought process right, and get the messaging right across to the boys. Probably because I was a little bit like, we just conceded 2 goals in the last couple of minutes. I was frustrated.
You care too much.
Exactly, yeah. And I just, if I had that 10 minutes, I could have taken probably 3 or 4 minutes myself, just thought it through, calmed down, and then spoken to the players and the boys and just gone through it with them, and it would have been a great learning for them. Instead, I had to take the first 5 or 10 minutes at the next training session to talk to them about it. Some of them kind of knew about it. Some of the boys weren't there because we rotate the team. So it's kind of, it just loses that kind of impact.
It's half the impact.
Exactly, yeah. You lose that impact.
Yes. So, because before the actual game then, what things are you thinking about before the match day? What kind of stuff do you need to get right in your head around planning and preparation, and how it fits in with your training and squads and things like this? What was the stuff that you'd say was
always
really
what
important?
I've done initially, pre-season, I would pick the squads for the games. So I'd get the fixture list out. I'd look at who we're playing. I'd look at who the strongest teams are. I'd pick the strongest teams for those games.
Yeah.
Because I feel that's important. I want the best players to be playing against the best teams. So I'd initially do that, and the squads would be picked for 4 months. And that's certainly something I'd recommend to any coach out there. You're super organised. You're probably too organised. It probably takes a couple of hours, but you sit down. Right, we've got Man United, City, or wherever they are, under 9s, and they're the best team in our league, and we play them on December the 13th. Right, I'm picking my squad. That's December the 13th. Out it goes to the parents, so every parent knows that they're playing. I'd have no more than 2 subs. Controversial maybe, but there are times where I go and watch games and there's 4 lads on the side. Yep. And in terms of their development, it's not happening. They'll get 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Yep. They're playing football in essentially in the social circle, but you've got to make that choice. Are you facilitating for boys to play football, or are you developing them? Yeah. And that comes from there. But from my point of view, I'm in it I want to make every single player that I coach better, but I can't make them better if they've got 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off, if that makes sense. So I would sit down in August or September and pick my squads probably from then until Christmas. So there's 8 games, right? Parents, you've got one weekend off, which is key, because then also you keep the parents happy. Right, you've got your weekend off. There's your family time, which I fully understand. I get it. I know football is everything to us, but it's not to everyone. I know there's siblings involved as well who stand on the side every week, and you give them that little smile, and they reluctantly smile back at you as if say, I'm here every Sunday with you, Chris, and I'm missing my dance class because you've got more football every single week. So and again, I think you earn points with the parents from that point of view. They've got it in the diary, they've got it scheduled, and go from there. And then you know that when you need your best players to play against the best team, then you have got them. So there's no scapegoats. I sometimes think kids get scapegoated. Is that a word? We'll go with it. If it's in the diary, it's in the dictionary. I'd be surprised, but yeah, I sometimes think kids get dug out for underperforming. But if you've got no excuses, and then obviously the best players are playing against the best players, and you can put your conditions and your ideas and your philosophies and your challenges appropriate to the level of what you've got. So I hate saying weakest, because it's not, your least experienced player plays against a team that that he's able to play against. So I can go out there and I can challenge him and say, can you do 3 1v1s today? I want to see 3 steppers you today and deliver a cross for me. But he's maybe not going to be able to do that against a really, really top team. And that's why I still think, that's another story for another day, boys playing at different levels. I know you mentioned in your first podcast about, seeded teams or graded teams and stuff. It should be, whatever league you play in, that should be, if I was running the FA, it's the first thing I'd do. A, play against A, B against B. It's what we do in maths, it's what we do in English at school.
Giving the best chance to shine, right?
I was in set C at maths, so I knew my level, I knew how to, and my mum and dad knew my level, so I needed to go and get help with it.
And then
if you're in the A team and you can't perform, then maybe there's a different idea of the parents of where your son actually is in his football. But it's a difficult one.
I think the challenge is managing the movement between the teams, right? That you've got to be as a club. If you've got an A team, B team, C team manager, you've got to be on the same page, and that's the challenge, is managing that. But it's the 100%.
How many people do you upset doing that? I've done it before.
So
I mentioned my beloved cooker. I did it in the first year. We did under 7s where it was light and fluffy, and I thought, you know what, I've got fantastic footballers here, but there's definitely boys who are flying and striving and looking like they want to develop into academy footballers, and there are lads here to have fun. Don't get me wrong, fantastic footballers,
but
need a little bit more time to develop their skills in a learning environment where they're not going to be challenged by boys who are maybe more equivalent to the 18 boys. So I made that conscious effort to split the teams. It's difficult.
I think if you're doing it always in the best interest of the players, then you're okay, aren't you, on solid ground?
But you almost need to do it in a room where you've got, if I was talking to 15 junior club managers now, that's the point where you get them in a room. You don't do it on an email. Again, I learnt my lesson. I probably did it on an email. You get them in a room and say, right, this is how it is, because then you can front up to the parents and say, this is, I feel very passionate about this, and because your boy isn't in the A team doesn't mean I think he's a bad player. He needs to be in the B team so he can develop and work on his skills, right? so he can perform well in matches. It's not about training. It's not, and I know his best mates in the A team, but it's you always have, and I hate saying this, but it's so true. You have to look after your best players.
I don't think the kids mind so much. It's usually the parents, isn't it? How important is it being clear from the outset about these things? And I mean,
it's the most important thing. It's getting your philosophy over to the parents so they buy into what you're doing. And absolutely, going after week 3 and saying, oh, by the way, we've had 3 not so good results. Little Jimmy scored 7 goals in the B team, so we want to move into the A team. But by the way, Stanley, you're going to drop into the... Absolutely not. You've got to make a decision based on your pre-season training, whatever it is. You've got to have confidence in your convictions of say, right, I picked him. Just like when Southgate picked his 23, I'm sure after 3 or 4 days he thought, I wonder if I maybe could have brought him. We all have those moments as coaches, of course we do, but absolutely from September the 1st, those parents know exactly who's in A, who's in B, who's in C, with the understanding that halfway through the season it'll be reviewed or whatever, and that's a great learning tool. Not just on the football pitch, but a great learning tool for a parent to a child, and they say, right, so at school, things are not going your way. We need to, you need to go away and work
a bit harder.
Chris talked about 400 touches. So when little Max in the A team's doing 400, how many are you doing? 400? No. You're doing 500. Okay.
If you want to close
You've
the
got
gap,
to, you've got to close that gap.
Yeah.
You've got to
Yeah.
close that gap.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just Chris, I think some great points there, especially around the communication with the parents. I think that's a wider piece than just match day and things. It's the whole. I think it's, as a coach, is managing the parents is from my experience one of the hardest things. And I think if you get that communication right, you get it done up front, you have those kind of face-to-face conversations, it kind of makes your life as a coach a lot easier.
Trust.
And it's gaining their trust.
Gaining
Exactly.
trust,
Yeah.
Because
100%.
then it becomes just a game of whispers.
Yeah.
Certainly, like I said, it's another example, the amount of whispers that go on with the parents on the touchline and stuff. But if they know, right, this is how it is, this is what. If you don't like it, please come to me initially, and we can talk it through. So at least you guys are on the same page, and you'll win far more friends, and you'll make enemies based on that way. I think it's your first job.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
totally agree.
Before you pick the kid, mate, it's the first job of educating the parents and getting them on your team.
Yeah.
Because there'll be times where you might have an academy game against West Ham, and you've got an hour and a half in the car. But if you won them over with your passion and your love for this sport and for their children, let's get it right. We're not getting paid to do this. We're doing this out of the love for the game and for those children who you get amazingly attached to. It's amazing how attached you get to these kids. They're not yours, but you so
They're like your own, aren't they?
You want them to succeed and you want them to do well. And if that comes across to a parent and they can buy into your philosophy and your attitude and what you want for them children, then they'll be willing to, you know what, we'll drive 2 hours for that game that you've organised for us to make them better.
And if the message from the parents is the same as you're giving the players yourself, then that makes life a lot easier, doesn't it? And it means they'll get more out of the time they spend with you, right? Because they're going to be
and that
engaged
coaching
in
point that you felt that you missed out on, that can happen in the car because they're talking the same language as you.
Yeah.
I've often, and that's something that I've always found from parents of the teams that I've run, that the language they're using in the car is very different to what it was before they played. For instance, they're talking about, were you the hardest working? That cheesy phrase, were you the hardest working player?
We've
today?
stole that one. That's one of ours.
Instead of saying, I didn't think you played well today.
Yeah.
But my biggest tip to parents is, what did you do well today?
Yeah.
Give me 2 things you do well today, and what one thing could you have done better next week? Comes from him instead of, and I know it happens.
Drive home parents.
Dad, who's had his trial at Crystal Palace and he didn't make it. It's frustration, and he wants to live his life through his 9-10-year-old little superstar. I get it, but at the same time, are you really helping him by saying that he was poor today or he didn't have a great game today?
Best interest, but actually, you know what?
Yeah, and again, I think that's an interesting point because at the end of games, I always try to ask the players, what did we do well today? I try to avoid what we didn't do well, but we sometimes we have that discussion. But some of the boys, they can't, if we don't win, they will give a negative point. And I would say, no, I want a positive point. What did we do well today? Or what did you do well today? And some of the kids kind of struggle to give that kind of positive point across. And I think perhaps maybe that could be some of the parents' influence right in the background by the type of questions they're getting asked in the car and things like that.
It's not. We always blame the FA, don't we? But football is so results driven.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It really, really is. At the end of the day, because we get one game a week, we get 48 minutes where it's you against your local rival. You know, imagine when Ickenham play Ruislip Rangers, which again, probably most people who's listened to that podcast, it doesn't mean. But
it's a big derby for us.
I know it means a lot. It means a lot to you guys, but it's win at all costs is a dramatic phrase, but it feels like that. I've gone and watched local derbies on the side, and they're 7 and 8 year old kids, and I can see that the manager wants to win more than anything else in the world. And if it's 3-3, he will. Even if it's not his turn to go on the pitch, he will go onto the pitch to win the football game to prove a point, and all development and all conditions and that going back to the goalkeeper all of a sudden. No, forget that. We'll just play.
Important
it's
anymore.
not important anymore, and the end. And I think that translates to the kids.
Yeah.
How you change that again is another story for another podcast.
Yeah.
Good luck with that one, but it's a real difficult one. I don't know how you change football into. I know people talk about non-competitive.
Football's competitive.
It always will be.
All sport is, isn't it? And I think it's a different podcast, but it's about sticking to your principles, about not putting the result before the development. But I've never seen anyone, especially a child, play any sport and not compete in it. Because it's sport, you've got to be competitive. But it's child-centred sport, and I think the important thing we could do as coaches and adults, whether that's parents, coaches, or whoever else is involved, is just remember the fact that it's child-centred and keep to the principles of what you're trying to achieve, and that is actually making sure the players have a great learning experience and get something out of that, right? I mean, it is age and stage appropriate. Maybe if they're a little bit older, it's a bit different, but certainly when they're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I mean, winning the game on the Sunday probably isn't the most important thing in the world, although it feels like that at the time.
Yeah. I think you want your players to go out there and want to win the game.
And compete.
Yeah. I know that as a coach, I want to go there on a Sunday and I want to win the game. But for me, if we lost the game and we done the things that are kind of goals for the game, if the boys worked hard or the players worked hard, I'm okay. I'm actually very happy. I walk away very happy.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not about kind of winning at all costs. I want to win, but I want the boys to do the things that we work on in training, the things that we kind of talk about as a team, and the philosophy we put in place. And if they're doing that, then I'm happy as a coach. Do you know what I mean? So,
do you not feel that we're coaching, we're coaching individuals in a team sport?
Yeah, I do think that. I mean,
and that's really difficult.
Yeah. I don't know if that's partly because the age group we coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that. But then I don't know if that's personally, and correct me, Chris, if you have a different view, but I don't know if that's a massive issue, because part of that is, okay, if we can get them doing the right job individually, then as a coach, then it's about, okay, how can we make their work collectively? And it's, that's an art in itself, but that's part of what we've got to do, get them really strong individually and then be able to share the ball collectively to make, do the right things.
Because I've seen some sessions, I've been to Chelsea and seen some sessions, and I've been to QPR, and it's very much me and my ball. And when you're playing 5v5, and little Bobby, he's always my example, little Bobby. So little Bobby is the best player on the team. He goes to Chelsea on a Monday and a Wednesday and a Friday. He comes to you on a Saturday, and he's playing me and my ball.
Yeah.
And who's developing? And what about the other 4? So it's really difficult. Under 7s, they always say, "Oh, let him play, let him go and express himself, let him do his flicks and his tricks." Unfortunately, it's just a game for him then, and that's why I sometimes think that the way that they do it in Belgium with the 2v2s and the 3v3s, it means that there's more ball time.
Yeah.
There's more skill time. There's more body combat, which the boys all need. But I really struggle with that unless you're playing passing football, which is in a sense frowned upon at 7s, 8s, and 9s. Certainly from my own experience, when at the highest level,
you don't
again,
pass the ball.
I've seen some teams that play some beautiful passing football, and none of their players play academy football. You know why? Because they're ignored.
Yeah.
Because the Chelsea scout goes and watches and goes, well, the number 6 passes the ball. I haven't seen him beat anyone yet. Yeah, because the guy on the side has turned him into a beautiful team functioning passing side that blows teams away with beautiful possession football. But what the guy on the side wants to see is the number 9 pick it up on the edge of his own box, beat 4 players and score.
Well, our job or our role is to develop a team, isn't it? Like, where an academy, they want individuals. That's their thing. My challenge with that is, because that's a philosophical argument, and I get that. But I think the minute you say to a player, just stay on the ball, and I get the reasons for it, but you're taking away all that decision making about, okay, when do I release the ball? When do I move off the ball? Where do I go? I think you take something away from the kids, even at 7, 8, 9, and 10. I think actually there's an art to sharing the ball as well. Yes, stay on it, at the right times as much as you can in the right places. But actually, the ability to know when to shift the ball and move again is actually something they can learn at 7, 8, and 9, and that will make them a better all-round football player.
But are we not there to coach the individual? Certainly on the courses I've been on, you've got a group of 12 players. The impression I get from, again, the courses I've been on is you need to coach the individual player. We get 48 minutes to put something together in terms of a match performance and a team performance. Football is a team sport, and I really get the sense that I need to make sure that I give Max the challenges he requires, and Jimmy over the other side, and Bobby, and it's difficult. So in a sense, we're almost coaching a completely different sport to the one that we've all been brought up on. Right. It's hard, but we are told to coach the individual in a team sport.
Yeah. Go on. So on that point, then let's look at the match day itself.
Okay.
And I know you've got a few things here, but. So when you're looking at the match, and what things what do you do on match day? What are the things that are important to you, and what do you think as coaches we sometimes get right or often get wrong, and how can we get the most out of our match day experience for us as coaches, but more importantly for the players themselves?
I think the warm up is massive, and it's always something that, again, I don't think is taken as seriously and as important as it should be. The warm-up is as important as your training session, probably as important as the match.
Yep.
But I still find myself whether I'm turning up to watch games, I find myself watching 8 boys in a line, waiting for their turn to have a shot at a goalkeeper, which I'm sure you've all seen. I see kids messing about with no structure in terms of a box or a triangle. Listen, each to their own. I know a lot of people like I think you guys were talking about the free play and let the guys play, but I think I agree with you. I kind of quite like the structure of a warm up, but at the same time, I know you guys also spoke about a match before. I think it's vital.
We do a mini little.
So
mini
we're
match.
about to play a match. We need to play a match before we start.
So what would your warm up look like, and would it, what would be typically in your warm up if I was one of your players?
So my warm up would be a ball mastery.
Yeah.
Let's say I've got 20 minutes. I do a 5-minute ball mastery. Your toe taps, your L shapes, your step overs. Then I get into my 1v1s and do my 15-second football, which is probably the most important part of my warm up. Where not only are they working on their flicks and tricks, they're working on their body combat, they're being competitive, they're getting warm at the same time. Swapping partners, winner plays winners, so all of a sudden you are drip feeding that competitive, we are here to win. I know it's not important, but you still have to flick that switch, if that makes sense. And in a sense, obviously the winners playing the winners, you've also got the ones who are not doing so well, gaining some confidence by playing against some of the less experienced players as well. So you like to think at the end of that ball mastery 15-second competitive ball mastery stuff, you've got warm bodies, hearts are racing, everyone's touched the ball in my guess 200 times at least, which is, you tick that box already, and they're ready to play. They're ready to play. And then once you've done that, you've ticked the technical box, you've ticked the social box, now it's time to put the 3v3s, put little boxes out. Now, a little favourite of mine is you put 5 boxes out on a football pitch, and to score a goal they must play the ball into a box. So you're working on their movement off the ball, and it's, like I said, really simple. They enjoy it, they love it, and they're ready to play. And you've, in a sense, and you don't need to coach it. There's my 5 boxes, lads, and put 2 footballs out. You're 5v5, there's 2 footballs. So again, you're not waiting for that one player who's standing there. So in a sense, you've got 2v2s, maybe 3v2s all over the football pitch. You've got 2 sets of them, if that makes sense. You've got a 2v3 over there and a 3v2 over there. So they're working on their overload. They're working on that. What is that third man, that third man run, which is a phrase I absolutely love in football. But if you ask me to describe what it means, no idea. But you get, what is that? What do the boys do off the ball? It's really important. And I don't think they quite get that probably before the age, I think at 10. Certainly from my own experience, you guys might disagree, but I certainly think that halfway through under 9s, 10s, they start to realise just how important what they do off the ball compared to what they do on the ball. So that would be my perfect warm-up. Like I said, ball mastery, 1v1s, body combat, 15-second football. If you get knocked over, get up, person with the ball wins. And then, like I said, 5 boxes in a 30 by 30, if that makes sense.
What?
And I don't do shooting.
No, you don't do shooting.
That's
I was
interesting.
going to ask that. Yeah.
No.
What's your keeper doing?
He's doing
Involved.
He's
Right.
getting involved.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like I said, he's my extra player,
Yeah.
and he's vital. When you're playing 6v6, you're essentially playing 5v5, aren't you? But when my goalie plays, it's 6v5. My goalie will touch the ball as much as my centre forward.
But the goalkeeper in modern day football now, right? The goalkeeper is a footballer.
The 2 best teams in the Premier League have
footballing
outfield players.
Exactly.
I mean, some of the passes you've seen from those 2 lads this season. I mean, Edison, I've seen him pick a 70-yard ball
unbelievable.
To the fit, and the same with the guy at Liverpool. Their distribution is frightening, and that's what I think academies are looking for in their goalkeepers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about not doing shooting actually is your goalkeeper. Like in some, depending on what age you get to, whether you've got a fixed goalkeeper or whether you rotate goalkeepers in the younger ages. But what you find is that your goalkeeper's warming up, especially in conditions like they are at the moment. He's diving around in that mud. He comes in after kind of 10 minutes of goalie practice. He's literally caked in mud. He's soaking wet. It's freezing cold, right? And all of a sudden, it's problematic for the goalkeeper because he's just.
And I also think it's a skill set that they tick. Yeah. If we had an 8-year-old kid here, we had some floodlights in the back garden, and we watched him with a goal and a ball, what would he do for an hour? shoot.
Yeah.
They do it. They do it all week, and it's something that you try and get them to realise and understand the other side of the game they do. So I think they've ticked the shooting box.
Yeah,
and
so just two questions, if you don't mind. So, firstly, is it are you with a ball all the time in the warm up? From what I hear,
yes.
You
The
don't
ball
do
mastery is one ball each.
Yeah,
and then the 15-second football is between two.
Yeah,
it's me or you.
Yeah,
and then obviously, and then the two balls in to the little 5v5 game. I always like to throw the extra football in.
Yeah,
can you attack and can you defend at the same time? Because I think one ball. It just gets them a little bit lazy. I want kids to be taking pictures all the time. And if you've got that second ball, it's amazing when it first starts. You have one ball that side, 5 of the reds are over there, and 5 of the greens are over there. Right, stop, stand still. What we're doing? Let's think about it. And then all of a sudden it starts to work out where they're thinking, right, I'm affecting that ball, and that third player in the 2v2, can he go and make it? Can he go and create an overload over that side of the pitch? So I always like to involve certainly the match games with more than one ball.
Yeah, and do you generally keep the same structure in your warm-ups every time, so the boys or the players know what's coming? Right,
I think so.
Is that what we do?
I think I'd go on a 1 month rotation, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so a 1 month rotation. So you're doing the same warm-up with the lads 4 times to the point where you can leave them to it, so they know, and it's in their locker to the point where I go, you know what, lads, the warm-up we did in January, I want to see that again in April. So it's one of those ones. And again, the coaching, and then your coaching points can get better and more advanced as we go. I tell you what, lads, can we make 3 passes before we get into a box now?
Yeah.
You know the game. Okay, what's that third player need to do? He needs to get on. Like I said, we need to get the ball moving before we can score a point. So I would go on a 4-week rotation, and that gives you a good chance to work on, obviously, and you'll see what's happening at training, what the boys need and what they don't need. But I think warm-ups need to be to the point where the kids know what you're doing, to the point where they turn up.
They can do it themselves.
They know they get a ball, to the point where they're almost robots and they're well-oiled machines. A phrase that my dad would use. To the point, they've got a ball, they're in a box, they're doing their 100 touches a minute. Go. We know it. This is what we do.
Yeah,
getting them game
absolutely.
Ready. Yeah. So controversial word for you then, rondo. Appropriate before a game, or would you use it or not use it before a match? We see a lot of that, but
not a fan.
No.
Go on, I don't see where it happens in a game.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Non-directional.
Yeah,
it's just
See, my version of a rondo would be 1v1 a box. 1v1 in the middle. So we've got reds against greens. The reds have got to get the ball from one red player to the other red player on the other side of the box, and the person in the middle must touch the ball. And then the greens, obviously, they win the ball back. Then they've got to transfer the ball over the other side. So it's a rondo, but it's a match. You know, when they're transferring the ball, they're working on their body shape. Because I don't think a rondo, they're working on their body shape. The only thing a good thing about a rondo is they're moving the ball away from pressure, which is another thing I really like to work on with the kids. And it's a great tag word from the side: play away from pressure, and they instantly switch the ball away, which is always great. But the rondos is always something that I just think it's easy, and it's something that and whenever we switch on Sky Sports and we're watching Man City Liverpool, what do you watch the kids? They're doing rondos. They're doing 9 players against one, and that's when they're showing off and they're trying to nutmeg each other. But I don't think they're setting the right example, certainly for us as coaches and for the kids. So
I wonder if they're doing that for the social side, like a bit of a release the pressure more than anything else. But we look at it and think it's a technical thing. It's not a technical exercise they're doing. They're doing it just to take the pressure off the boys a little bit and relax them down and stuff. Okay,
just one point on the rondo, if you don't mind. I think I see your view 100%, and I kind of agree with most of it. I do like a rondo as a kind of warm up in training. Maybe the first after free play, we may do a kind of warm up, do a rondo, just maybe more social.
It gets them giggling, and if you're not making the guy in the middle, everyone. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it can. I think also it gets them a lot of first touch on the ball, moving the ball quickly. It can. There are some things in it, but I do agree there's a lot of drawbacks.
I tell you what, a rondo with a goalkeeper, that's a nice one. So in terms of that, if you set out to do a rondo, and I had a gun to my head, I would put the goalie in the middle. So you've got to move the ball around the goalie, and maybe to score a point, the ball's got to be transferred through him, or you've got to get maybe after 3 passes, you've got to get a shot through him, or whatever. So I certainly think a goalie rondo is a little bit of change. And again, we always talk about how do you get the goalie involved in your warm up, because all the teams I've been lucky enough, the goalie's always been fantastically good with their feet. But if you've got someone who isn't, and they're doing the ball mastery and the 1v1s, you've instantly demotivated them. They're not particularly enjoying it. The person who's their partner is demotivated because So maybe a rondo with a goalkeeper is always a nice little change up for the lads. Again, he's jumping around, he's getting muddy, and but that is what it is.
Loving life.
Yeah.
What about the team talk then? Do you have one? If you do, what's it like, and when would you do it? And what would it involve?
It's always team challenges for me.
Okay.
Massively positive. Like I said, kids respond to positivity. Can we be the hardest working team again? There it comes out again. So my first question at halftime: who was the hardest working team? Yeah. And if we're winning 2-0, they'll say, "Oh, we were absolutely." Yeah. But if we're 3-0 down, who was the hardest working team? So they instantly know that they hadn't worked hard enough. So it's a great way of me saying you haven't worked hard enough, but I haven't said it. They've said it. So when they come off at the end, so who was the hardest working team? So you've instantly ticked that box. So unfortunately, again, that's where the result comes in. But, sometimes they can work exceptionally hard, but be 1-0 down. But psychologically, as a coach, it's a great way of saying, need a little bit more from you lads. Because we're 1-0 down, you need to respond. I know it's about performance. I always think performance is more important. That's always what I say to the kids. I said, I don't want the result, I want a performance. Because if you perform 9.5 times out of 10, sometimes a day where you've hit the inside of the post 7 times and it's just not your day. But if you perform,
we've kind of won already.
You win. And like I said,
And individual challenges, would you have those? And if so, would you give them to the players during the match, before the match?
That would be position dependent.
Okay.
So my individual challenges to my wide players. So in terms of 7v7, I play with 1 centre half. I play with 2 holding midfield players. So I've got my little triangle, my little base. Yeah. And I play with 2 wingers who I instruct to don't track back. You press from the front, but you're not coming back. That's my job I like all my teams to be 1v1 dependent in terms of defending. When it corners, if they've got 3 boys in the box, we'll have 3. And we'll keep the 2 guys high. Football is about attacking and scoring goals. And also, little Jimmy's got to learn that if he doesn't mark that boy and we go 1-0 down, so that's where I've probably shown myself as a development coach more than a results coach, because I will take risks. And I don't think there's enough coaches out there that are willing to take. They'll happily put 5 kids in the box to defend against 3. Oh, but we've got numbers and we've covered areas. And but what happens when you win that ball back? You're giving it back to them and it's coming back in again. But if you can play 3v3 in the box and nick it and get the ball to your winger, you're 3v2, sometimes 3v1 every time, and you've turned a corner to them into a goal for you. Yeah. So your individual challenges for your wide players, because they're going to be in 1v1 situations, and that's an area where the pitch where you can let them go and express themselves. But I want a trick, but I also want a cross. Yeah. I don't want a trick that doesn't lead to anything, because I sometimes think skills need to lead to end product. Yeah. To take the frustration, because I know sometimes the parents again. If little Jimmy's done 4 step overs, he's having the best day of his life. The Faustino Espria experience, as we like to call it. There needs to be 2 balls on the pitch. Yeah. So little Jimmy's beating his man, but he hasn't delivered a cross. So I don't mind, like I say, 1 trick, 1 cross. So that's for my wide players. My defensive players, can my centre half trust his goalkeeper? Trust. And like I say, if I'm on this side and I shout trust, they know that I want to go back to the goalkeeper. Yeah. Again, am I helping them out a little bit? I'm giving them a little code word. The little code words are always good. Yeah. Like I say, trust, go back to the goalkeeper, and can my boys play forward when we're ready? That's another good one from the side. So if I say play forward when we're ready, that's my way of saying be patient. Yeah. Let's build our play. Because at the same time, we're all defenders. When the goalie's got the ball, everyone's set up in their own half. Yeah. So we need to bring them out. So in a sense, play forward when they're ready. And again, but that comes after 5-6 weeks of, if I said that tagline to your team tomorrow, I'm not sure I'd get much of a response. But it's
if you persevere with it.
But again, that's your philosophy and your constant message that you need to believe in, to the point where they believe in it. You will always believe in it because that's the way you think football's played. But you need to get to the point where your 10 lads go onto that pitch and they're saying in their head, I'm going to be the hardest working player today. Yeah. Okay. When I'm wide, I need to beat them 1v1 with a step over, because I know Chris loves a step over, but I need to deliver a cross, to the point where you're almost, brainwashing them into the way that you play. And as long as your philosophy is a positive one and a good one, and one that develops good football, then I don't think anyone could have any problems.
Yeah. And in terms of the question on the formations, then, are you kind of fixed? That is your formation, and I think I recognise that formation from Wickham. I think,
yes,
or they play that very similar. So I'm sure you implemented it there. So is that your fixed kind of formation at 7-a-side, or would you tweak it perhaps if you've got players that maybe don't fit naturally to that formation?
That's
I know we're talking about
really,
under 10s here.
I really believe in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it at its best and I've seen it at its worst.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it when we with the Cookham team, we were lucky enough to go over to France and we played against Lille, their academy side, and they played with wingers. So obviously, if you're playing with one centre defender and two holding midfield players in front,
space down the sides.
You're wide, you're weak if you give the ball away.
Yeah.
And that was the first time we came up against a team that was better on the ball than we were.
Yeah.
And we beat them 2-1. Yeah. We had 2 shots. I think they had 17 shots. Right. I think our goalkeeper had one of those games. Bless Frankie. If you're listening, Frankie, thank you so much. So I can say I managed against Lille Academy and we won 2-1. But it really was a little bit of a smash and grab. We had a back post free kick that went, when no one defends it and the goalie stands still and it went in and we went crazy. But so I believe in it. If you keep the ball, you are so dangerous on the break. I like counter-attacking football. I think Leicester were a prime example that counter-attack can be effective. It can be good to watch. I like the ball wide. I like wingers. I like crosses. I like 3v1s. I like 3v2s. But I also like boys to learn to defend 1v1.
Yeah.
I know as coaches we go, we left him 1v1. Good. It's the only way he's going to learn. Because if he doesn't make that tackle and concede a goal, as horrible as it sounds, whose fault is it? Yeah. It's the lad's fault. But the next time he's a 1v1, he's going to grit his teeth a little bit more and he's going to defend it. But I certainly think, and also every coach needs to go on the pitch with that right, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Sometimes I know there's lots of managers out there. I know Guardiola never worries about the other team. I think he worries about Liverpool now. I think he certainly has a plan for Liverpool. But all the other teams, we're going to play how we play. You got to deal with us. Yeah. And I sometimes think as coaches, I think too many of us worry about what the other team's going to do to us rather than what we do to them. So that 1-2-3, as I call it, is a shape that I trust in. I believe in it. The boys that I've had believe in it now because it's triangles all over the pitch. So you've got your triangle at the base, and then you've got your triangle wide, and then you've got your triangle over the other side, and it's just one big triangle. And what's football played in? As I say to the lads, triangles. And that's when they start to believe in the shape.
Yeah.
So you can just say, right, triangle, and they're instantly like, I've got one. Yeah. So in terms of them holding their shape, keeping their shape, goes from there. It's just translating it into a language that they understand. But that takes time because every kid's different. They all learn different ways. Some learn with tactics boards, some learn by showing, some learn by just the information you're giving them.
Do you present your information in different ways than on match day? Would you be using a tactics board as well as maybe micro pitches or
the micro pitch is yes, and I don't think it's done enough.
So let's explain what that is.
So a micro pitch is I've got the big dome cones, the big wigwams that I call it. So I've got big bright yellow cones. So I will put my pitch on the side of the pitch. I will put my formation out, and that will stay there for the whole game.
Okay.
So we've done our warm up, we've done our little 5v5 in the boxes, so everyone's ready to rock, everyone's moved the ball nice and quickly. So we've got the philosophy of what we're going to do. Now we come over and we talk about it, and then I'll put the boys into their shape. So I've got me one, my goalie will come and stand next to the cones, my defender, my 2 midfielders, so they know and they can look around and they can see the shape. I've seen so many coaches do their pre-match chat and say, right, you're playing left midfield, you're playing right midfield. And they're all they run onto the pitch and they run into positions that no. That's what's great about that is they translate what they've got there, and you see them. They all run into the position that you've just told them to be in.
You're doing this on the side of the pitch in a small space.
Yes. I give them what I want, and so Max knows where Jack is. Jack knows where Matteo is. George knows where Indy is.
So they can visualise it.
They all know where they are on the pitch.
Yeah.
And to the point where that game kicks off, I've got 1, 2, 3. And I've watched it from other coaches, and a game kicks off, and you've got 4 boys around the semicircle ready to just run.
Yeah.
It's and I think it shows a lack of trust in the boys. I've had that. I've tried to translate that shape to those boys from the age of probably 7.5. It's too early, Chris, isn't it? No. No. We'll get to the stage where I always like to be ahead of the game. You know, when we were going to 7-a-side, I was playing 7-a-side friendlies halfway through under 8s because I wanted us to be ready. Yeah. And I think as coaches, we have to think, you know, that as much as the game on Sunday is important, what about what's happening in 3 or 4 months' time? And that's the thing about the formations, which again we can talk about. Does your formation translate to the next stage up? Yeah. You know, some people would say to me, "So what are you going to do now? What are you going to do 9v9?"
So how would your 7 formation go into 9 then?
I would just put in a three centre halves.
Yeah.
I'd put in 3 centre halves. So I've got my 3, I've got my 2, and then I've got my 3. Still keep my width.
Yeah.
They still keep that triangle, that that strong base.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've just added an extra triangle on the left hand side and an extra triangle on the right hand side.
And into 11.
Yeah, I like it.
Into 11.
Would you have more variation there? Because you could do, or would you naturally just put in the?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because Chelsea came in and Conte came in and played that back 3, didn't they? And everyone kind of thought, well, it's the way forward, isn't it? And I think it happened for about a year, and now
it stopped again.
It stopped again. Yeah. I know. I'm a Tottenham fan, and I know Tottenham did it a while ago last year, but the back 4's back in again. So it's hard. You know, you can have your philosophy. I think for me at this moment in time, kids 8, 9, certainly under 9s and under 10s, that's when they need to start learning to pass the ball and move the ball around the pitch and use the space and hold their shape and formation. So that formation that I like and I trust in, it's a great, way of showing the kids about playing with width and having triangles and stuff like that. Does it translate well to 11v11? Probably not. Would I get the England job? Probably not. I'm Scottish, so I wouldn't be allowed it anyway. My dad would be furious me saying that. I'm not sure I want the Scotland job anyway. That sounds like But it's difficult, but should you have a philosophy that runs all the way through the... No, I sometimes think what the kids need at this moment in time is what 7v7, does that work at 9v9? I think so. 11v11, it's a different sport.
Yeah.
That big pitch, 7v7 and 9v9. I really enjoy watching 7v7 and 9v9. I don't enjoy watching 11v11 unless it's I've gone and watched under 15s games because I think it's been poor. Am I allowed to say? I think the game's been poorly coached to the point where it's just a game of head tennis, and it's a game of set pieces. It's a game of throw-ins and corners. There's no structure in their passing. They don't play across the back. They don't drop off to receive to make the pitch big to move it out the other side. It's just a simple case of lump it, big man flicks it on and stuff like that. But listen, we can't change football overnight, unfortunately.
Yeah. So into a question in terms of your kind of philosophy, then, do you kind of encourage the goalkeeper to kind of play out from the back? Do you kind of say, right, you can't kick the ball, or do you leave it? It's the goalkeeper decision.
Always. I always try and play out from the back. Yeah. Again, that word trust. Yeah. There are times where the goalie will look at me and go, "What, really?" I said, "Yeah, trust. Yeah. Let's play out." It's the only way you learn is by making mistakes. Yeah. That's an unfortunate thing that kids eventually deal with. Yeah. But it takes going 1-0 down sometimes for them to go, well, did the other player on the other side of the pitch move for you? No, he didn't. Unfortunately, you were the one dispossessed. You think it's your fault. But I don't think your right winger or the midfielder on that side of the triangle showed your feet. That's always what I say to the kids. Make sure they can see your feet. Yeah. And he didn't show you. So again, so he's learnt on the ball. The lad off the ball, he's learnt as well. And the goalie's learnt as well, to the point where, it's a learning process. But unfortunately, you only learn when you're 1-0 down. Yeah, and that's tough to translate to a 9-year-old. It's difficult. It really is.
And I think it comes back again to how you manage with the parents, right? Because I haven't got an A team, I've got a kind of B team, so we're kind of we're not at that top end. But I want my team to play out from the back. I want them to want to play out from the back and trust each other and play. And it kind of frustrates me with the goalkeeper kicks it long, because half the time we just give possession away. But the parents, you can hear the parents on the touchline saying, "Kick it," because they don't want it.
That immortal phrase, get rid of it.
Yeah, get rid of it or kick it. And it's like, and I think to me the right way to do it is you want the boys to learn how to play football properly. If they make mistakes, they make mistakes. They're fine. It's going to happen.
What do you like to make of the retreat line?
I think it's got its benefits and it's got its challenges. I mean, I would have the pressure, to be honest with you. I think they're going to learn quicker under the pressure.
Yeah, I just think, like I said, they're learning.
It's a false economy, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've always, certainly with our time at Wickham, I know the coaches at Wickham really really frowned upon it, as if to say, but what are they learning? You're giving kids more time than they're going to get used to. Like I said, the kids need to learn in the right. It's
and the whistle goes, they just rush at you, and it doesn't.
Sport,
different.
I think it works for under 7s, under 8s. Actually, I think when you get to 7-a-side, perhaps that's where it should be taken away. But I think at the real young ages, I think some teams need that.
Yeah, more space on the ball.
It's difficult with the playing out from the back, because there comes a point where you're, after 20 minutes, you played out from the back 5-6 times. The opposition manager's clocked it. He's had a little word with these lads. They play out from the back. I want you to really press them. And that's when you have to have a little word with your goalkeeper. But again, that comes after maybe half time. You've probably got to let him for 20 minutes go, well, you know what? You've got to work out yourself. It's 4v4 there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you have to do? And you only need to go over the top once. And that's, as coaches, like I said, just trust, believe in your philosophy. Go over the top once, and all of a sudden, then that manager's got something to think about. And your players, again, trust and buy it. You know what?
It's problem solving, isn't it? So they've got to find a solution to the problem they're facing. So, and you trust the boys to do it, they'll do it.
Playing out the back 10 times out of 10, you and I both know it's not ideal. But your philosophy is to try and do it as much as you can. But there were the lump it as as you hear from time to time, sometimes is the way forward. Absolutely.
Chris, I'm conscious of time, and you've got a match to go to. But how do you finish off your matches? So when the game's finished, what happens at the end of the match? I mean, we see some coaches doing 15, 20-minute team talks, either berating the players or rewarding everybody, or going for a full analysis of the game. In your opinion, what should the end of the match look like?
I don't analyse the game with the kids. I've been really lucky in most of the teams I've had. They've always been very strong. So 9 times out of 10, it's a positive ending. I always make sure that it's a team huddle at the end. It's a hands in, and it's a bit cheesy again, but it's that social. Hands in. Whatever football team, a nice loud cheer. I think the parents love it. They feel part of the team. But I sometimes think reviewing a game. You mentioned it when sometimes you're a little bit wired and you're a little bit full on to the point where your message to the kids and maybe because sometimes the team talks for the parents as well. I sometimes like the parents to come over and listen to my team talk as well, because you get that message that you maybe want them to
hear as well,
reinstate in the car, if that makes sense. So it really is. It's short, it's sharp, it's fun, it's friendly. But if we
always positive, would you highlight any of the issues in the games, or would you just keep it positive and think about that in your next training session or for the next match?
Yeah, I think at the next match, because I think we're all adrenaline. The adrenaline's pumping. Even an under 8, under 7s game, the adrenaline. I sometimes think you as a coach needs to go away. What I always used to do is send a message to the parents about an hour, 2 hours after the game on my thoughts of what we did well, what we didn't do well, and I would ask them to translate that to the kids.
Right. Yeah.
The famous WhatsApp groups that go around. So WhatsApp, thank you for coming, parents. Really appreciate your support and commitment to what is a massive team effort. I thought the boys played very well today. There were moments where we didn't stick to our shape. So while Jimmy's sitting having his tea, Dad can go, you know what, Chris has just sent a message over. Was the again the way it's asked? Shape wasn't very good today. What did you think of the shape? So again, ask the kid the question, and then kids, well, I kept my shape, but my teammate did. No. What about what are your thoughts on the whole team shape? Not as an individual, but as the team, and kind of get the kids to bring you out the answers that you require. So again, that's coaching from the parents from that point of view. But I don't think 15, 20 minutes at the end. In an ideal world, it'd be great if you knew you could have a tactics board and sit down and really chat it over. But at this time of year, by the time you finish a game, it's -4. Most of the kids are close to tears anyway. Maybe more in the summer games. Maybe as a little tip, maybe add that extra. Or by the way, we're kicking off at 9, and I need the boys till 11:15. So I want 20 minutes at the end, so we can actually sit down and we can rubber stamp our learning at the end. But at this time of year, it's a high five. It's a well done, and after I've gone home and reflected, I will give my information to the parents, and then when I see the kids next, hopefully that information's been relayed by the parents to them of my thoughts, to the point where they'll come to train and go, right, I know what Chris is going to talk about, because we spoke about it at the dinner table.
So it's having that open communication and being on the same page and having
and getting the parents to coach with you.
Yeah.
Getting them on the same page as you and using the same language as you. Like I said, were you the hardest working player today at the table? So he knows that's exactly. So he turns up and he knows, I've got to run more than him. I've got to work harder than him. And if you can get a kid to buy into that mentality, you're halfway there. And if that can come from a parent and come from you to the point where he's almost being ambushed by that tagline, he's got no choice but to go on there and run his heart out. Absolutely.
You want a team of those, you'd be doing all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you so much. We've
thank you
taken more than an hour of your time, but honestly, I'm sure that there's so much good stuff in there. I'm going to reflect and review on it, that's for sure, and analyse it. But there's so much in there.
What did I say at the start? I'll probably just dip in and
dip in and out. Yeah.
I've comfortably been the hardest work. Yeah, I've definitely used more than a million words.
Your ball rolling times are pretty hard.
But thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, Chris. Much appreciated. Thank you. Well, so what do you think about that then, Mark?
Well, there was a lot of great stuff there, right? It's just fantastic to listen to Chris. The things that his experience, his knowledge, just the way he thinks about the kind of match days and the way he talks about his philosophy and the buzzwords he thinks. I just think it was just, for me, I learned a lot of things. I'm hoping our listeners have learned a lot as well. But there's just so much in there, and I think we didn't even scratch the surface right on some of the things. We didn't get into kind of player rotations like we were hoping to at some point. We didn't really kind of get into all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was fantastic. How about yourself?
Yeah, so much as well, mate. I've got 3 pages of notes written down here, and there's things I've learnt lots as well. I mean, I've seen Chris in action, and I hope it transfers in the podcast. His spirit, his enthusiasm, the way he is with the players, and it's not just your technical knowledge, but it's how you put that across. And I think if you've got that connection with your players, it makes such a difference, and that's what he has. And I think that's what we can learn lots as coaches. We may have the best session plan and the best equipment and stuff and have the best technical knowledge, but if you can't communicate and get that across to the parents, the players and everyone else that's involved, you're going to probably not get as much out of as you might otherwise. The hope is to get him back on and to other topics, so maybe he'll be one of our guest podcasts hosts with us, but that's it for this session. If people do want to reach us, you can get us on our Twitter feed, which is @SoccerCoachCast. Or you can email us at info@thesoccercoachingpodcast.com. We had some great feedback from the first episode, which is much appreciated. You can get us on iTunes, Stitcher, and all the major podcasts streamers. So please do find us. Please do share this. We're not trying to tell you what to do as coaches. We're just trying to share some ideas, put some stuff out there, and hopefully improve our coaching journeys and also that of the players too.
Yeah, and I think it'd be great to hear feedback on the show and things that maybe other coaches are doing that we haven't spoken about in match day, that there's some learnings for us that we can take forward as well, right?
Definitely, fully agree. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Take care.